Have you ever wondered, why is it that some women, simply by their presence, cause men to soften, become enchanted, and be drawn to them like magnets? And what about you? Have you ever felt that despite doing everything, becoming more beautiful, smarter, more accomplished, you still end up with relationships that feel depleted, met with indifference or silence? If these questions resonate somewhere within you, then you might be drifting far from something profoundly important: your authentic feminine energy. This is not about magic, nor is it about flirtatious tactics. You don't need to be attractive by societal standards or overly remarkable. You simply need to reconnect with the feminine energy within you, and then men will be irresistibly drawn to you in a way that defies explanation. So, what exactly is this feminine energy? Where does it come from? And how can you, a woman navigating a world full of control, rationality, and competition, reclaim that forgotten part of your soul? In today's video, I will guide you to unravel this phenomenon through the lens of Carl Jung's psychology, where ancient archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the dynamic interplay of masculine and feminine energies operate more powerfully than any words or dating strategies. Stay until the end, because I will share with you profound, powerful, and highly practical practices to help you reconnect with your authentic feminine energy, release the need to strive, and embody the highest state of femininity. Gentle, yet immensely powerful. Number 1. The collective unconscious. In the deepest recesses of the human mind lies a realm without paths, maps, or memory markers to guide you. You've never visited it in the usual sense, yet it quietly resides within you, like the roots of an ancient tree holding the treasure of your childhood memories. It runs deep, spreads wide, and nourishes everything you think of as personal emotions, the way you love, doubt, open your heart, or run away. Unlike the personal unconscious, where forgotten memories, childhood wounds, or suppressed emotions reside, the collective unconscious does not belong to you alone. It is the shared spiritual heritage of humanity, the ancient foundation upon which every soul builds its identity. Jung likened it to a spiritual compass embedded in our minds from birth, a compass that needs no external guidance, for it predates all language, culture, and individuality. Have you ever been surprised that civilizations seemingly unconnected, from the deserts of Egypt, the mountains of Greece, the Amazon forests, to the ancient dynasties of the East, tell strikingly similar stories? Everywhere, there is a mother who gives birth to all things. Everywhere, there is a villain, a hero who ventures into the darkness, a savior who sacrifices for the collective. These images do not arise from individual imagination, but from a shared, deeper layer of humanity. They are echoes of an ancient consciousness, transcending language and culture, resonating through time like the heartbeat shared by all of humankind. What makes the collective unconscious so powerful is not that it holds secrets, but that you cannot control it with willpower. It's not something a man thinks about when he reacts to you. It's what moves you from within, shaping emotions, reactions, and choices, even when he believes he's acting entirely consciously. One of our viewers shared an experience that wasn't exactly romantic, but carried an unforgettable feeling, one she couldn't quite name. She attended an art workshop about dreams and symbols. In the class was a man, nearly a decade older than her, quiet and reserved. They barely interacted beyond a few brief exchanges about the workshop's theme. But at the end of the session, As the group began to pack up, he approached her and softly said, "I don't know why, but you remind me of something. Very old. As if I've met you before, but not here, long ago." She was taken aback. They had never met. Yet, instead of feeling awkward, she stayed silent. For she too sensed something vague, a connection beyond words, beyond appearances, beyond memory, rooted in a deeper emotional layer. Jung described the collective unconscious as a vast underground river beneath the thin crust of consciousness. It is the dwelling place of all that is ancient, primal, and essential. Jung once said it is like psychic patterns inherent in the human brain's structure. In other words, we don't learn to fear the dark, to be moved by maternal love, or to seek meaning in life. We are born with these tendencies. This is what gives symbols in religion, culture, mythology, art, and love their universal power and resonance. When a woman enters a space with profound feminine energy, before a man's rational mind can analyze it, the reaction he feels stems from the collective unconscious, where the archetype of the divine feminine has lived for thousands of years. This isn't mere attraction. It's an awakening of the archetypal memory carried in a man's soul since birth. Just as people dream of symbols like water, snakes, light, or abysses without knowing why, the collective unconscious speaks in the language of images and emotions. Because it defies logic, it can draw you toward a person, a place, or a feeling without any explainable reason. That's why so many fall in love, because of a feeling that cannot be named. A man, a creative director for a high-end fashion brand, once shared that for a month after his divorce, he kept having a strange, recurring dream. In it, he wandered into an underground market filled only with mirrors. There were no stalls or vendors, just distorted mirrors, each reflecting a different version of himself. A trembling child in the rain, a gaunt wolf, and in the final mirror, a naked woman with long hair covering her back, blood dripping from her shoulder. He couldn't see her face, but he knew she was a part of himself he had abandoned long ago. After those recurring dreams, he noticed that the glamorous, sharp, dazzling women no longer stirred him. Instead, he found himself inexplicably drawn to quieter women with an elusive depth. It felt as though his soul was seeking a way back to itself through them, as if the woman in his dream was stepping into the real world, not in form, but in energy. When a woman understands her role in awakening the collective unconscious in a man, she begins to live differently. She no longer performs to fit in, but starts listening to the deep call within. And when she lives true to her essential energy, she unknowingly becomes a living symbol of something ancient that a man has always known, always craved, but forgotten how to name. His soul recognizes her, even if his mind hasn't caught up. The collective unconscious is not just a concept to understand, it's a space to experience. When you dream, when you're moved by a glance, when you feel something illogical yet true, that's when you're in dialogue with the collective outspoken unconscious. Not through words, but through resonance. Carl Jung taught us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The collective unconscious is that silent scriptwriter. But if you recognize its existence, if you sense the symbols whispering in your emotions, you'll understand why some men react to you the way they do. Understanding and feeling what lies within gives you agency in your relationships, freeing you from doubt or self-blame. Number 2, the anima archetype. If the collective unconscious is a sacred forest where the memories of humanity silently weave through the leaves, then the anima is the ancient bird singing amidst the deepest shadows, both familiar and elusive. It is the feminine archetype, vibrant, enchanting, and immensely powerful, that exists in the psyche of every man. Like a part of his soul he was never taught to name, yet carries in every dream, every choice, every inexplicable stirring. The anima is not a real person. It is the reflection of the soft, intuitive, sensitive part of a man's soul, often severed during the process of growing up. From a young age, society teaches men to be tough, rational, and in control of their emotions, not to cry, not to show weakness. To become a true man, they bury their feminine side, pushing it into the unconscious. But that buried part doesn't vanish. It continues to live as a vision, a longing, waiting to be awakened. The anima may appear in dreams, in moments of delirium, in profound stirrings, and most notably, in the inexplicable reactions a man feels when encountering a woman whose energy resonates with it. The paradox is this: the one who awakens the anima is not the man himself, but often a woman in the external world, someone capable of naming what he cannot name within himself. When you live in alignment with your authentic feminine energy, when you are present, when you feel with your heart, when you let go of control and striving, you become a portal connecting a man to the forgotten part of his soul. He cannot explain why he is drawn to you. Quite simply, his unconscious recognizes you. It recognizes the anima he has carried all his life. This is not love in the conventional sense. It is a resonance of the soul at a deeper level than emotion. You might simply listen in silence. You might offer a gentle smile in a crowd. But in that moment, you are not just a charming woman. You are the sacred embodiment of something greater, what Jung called the soul image. You see this most clearly in men who seem to dismiss emotions. When they stand before a woman embodying unguarded femininity, they feel as if they're gazing at something both soft and dangerous, something they want to embrace yet fear losing control over. For the anima is both a longing and a shadow, all that they have rejected within themselves. This happens often in real life. One of our followers left a comment that made our entire team pause and reflect. I once experienced a moment where it felt like I was betraying my wife. I was used to living in a familiar cycle: work, kids, bills, the roles of father and husband. I was fine, really, except for one thing. I felt like I was living in survival mode, with a nagging sense that something in me was still yearning to be fulfilled. Then, during a healing retreat my wife signed us up for, I was paired in a group conversation with a young woman, a free-spirited artist who lived a nomadic life, with no specific goals, painting the places she visited and sharing her life guided by her inner flow. She didn't try to approach me or teach me anything, but in the way she spoke about the painting she was working on, the dreams she recorded every morning, or the vague emotions she allowed herself to simply be in, I felt something in me awaken. It wasn't because she was beautiful. It wasn't because I developed feelings for her. Unknowingly, she allowed me to see the part of my soul buried under responsibilities, the part that lives, feels, and dreams. That is the anima. At this point, do you recall a moment when you were that person for someone else? If you've ever had such a fleeting moment, share it in the comments below. Perhaps your experience is touching a part of someone else's unconscious. At the unconscious level, this woman's presence resonated with the dormant anima archetype in him, the feminine symbol of intuition, emotion, and a life without purpose, yet brimming with meaning. In that moment, he didn't like her. He longed to reconnect with the part of himself he had lost. You can see the anima's expression in culture, in muses, in characters who bring heroes to their knees. But what matters is not the external image. It's the energy a woman radiates, something soft, profound, and ungraspable. This is what draws men not with their eyes, but with their souls. Jung said the anima has many layers. At its surface, it may appear as the idealized woman, beautiful, captivating, sensual, and inspiring. But the deeper you go, the more mysterious it becomes. A whisper in the dark, an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery, a mirror reflecting everything a man has repressed, denied, or forgotten. It's no coincidence that in ancient myths, women often guide heroes through the darkness, from Psyche in Greek mythology to Beatrice in Dante's Divine Comedy. This is the anima, the inner feminine leading a man into the unconscious, where spiritual growth begins. The anima's appearance isn't always pleasant. On the contrary, it often leaves a man feeling unsettled, conflicted, or lost in an inexplicable haze. Jung noted that the anima can be a muse but also a witch. If a man isn't ready to face the depth of his emotions or his inner shadow, the anima can become distorted, leading him into blind relationships, idealization, or obsession. She can make him love recklessly, cling desperately, or idealize a woman as an image that isn't real because he isn't loving the woman herself, but the projection of his anima onto her. And this is the crux. The woman out there is not the anima, but she can awaken the anima in any man. When she embodies softness without weakness, emotion without chaos, stillness without avoidance, she evokes the forgotten archetype within him. A man is drawn to her because he recognizes what she represents in his inner world. This attraction goes beyond beauty. It is a resonance between the archetype and living reality. This explains why some men cannot resist a woman. Carl Jung said that for a man to mature, he must recognize and integrate the feminine part buried within him. And a woman, though not a healing tool, often catalyzes this process, not by preaching or saving, but simply by daring to live true to her feminine energy. True femininity is not weak. It is where everything dissolves to be reborn. It is the energy of receptivity, of feeling, of nurturing, of a sacred space where others can be themselves. When a woman lives in that state, she doesn't need to chase. Everything comes to her. And a man, if he is seeking his truth, will not be able to walk away. However, the anima also has a shadow side. She is not the cause of idealization, but if a woman isn't aware, she can become trapped in an image that doesn't belong to her. This explains why some intense mystical romances collapse quickly, when reality demands that a man see the woman for who she is, not the shadow in his mind. So, don't fear when someone loves you for something they don't understand, but know who you are, so you don't dissolve into the anima they're chasing. To do this, a woman must live true to what the archetype always seeks: authentic feminine energy. Number 3. Feminine energy. Many women believe they are living in alignment with their femininity, but in reality, they are merely wearing a pre-programmed version of it. Soft enough, gentle at the right moments, and pleasing to the eye. Nowadays, psychology calls this performative femininity. It may attract attention, but it doesn't foster a deep connection. Because men, especially those mature in their emotions, are not drawn to the image of femininity, they are awakened by true feminine energy. So, what's the difference? Authentic femininity is not about being beautiful by societal standards. It doesn't come from makeup, a soft voice, or a certain way of walking. It arises from an inner state. Do you feel safe being fully yourself, without chasing, without controlling situations, without doing anything extra, and still feel enough, lovable, and profound? Performative femininity, on the other hand, is the opposite. It's when you constantly fine-tune yourself to fit what you think others want. You believe you're connecting, but in truth, you're playing a scripted role of femininity, a touch of gentleness, a bit of listening, a dash of self-love, while inside, you're gripped by the fear of abandonment or not being enough. Authentic femininity is about letting go, about the ability to receive and trust the flow of life, even when it doesn't follow your plans. It's when you give love, not out of fear of scarcity, but because you're connected to the nourishing wellspring within you. You don't need anyone to validate your worth, because you're already living it fully. Performative femininity, however, uses gentleness as a tactic, not a natural expression. It's when you act agreeable, but are subtly trying to control others' emotions. It's when you think you're loving, but in reality, you're gently manipulating to avoid being hurt. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." So instead of striving to be an ideal woman in someone's eyes, ask yourself, am I living as a real woman, with real emotions, a real soul, and a real presence? Jung never suggested femininity is a standard to achieve. On the contrary, he saw it as a vibrant expression of the unconscious, something that cannot be imitated, only returned to. Thus, authentic feminine energy cannot be simulated with techniques or tricks. It emerges when you stop striving. You can easily spot the difference between two women entering a room. The first walks in with confident poise, impeccable makeup, purposeful strides, eyes quickly scanning to see who's watching her. The second arrives a little late. She doesn't overly concern herself with others' judgments. She engages naturally, without pretense, and that's what creates her magnetism. From a psychological perspective, the first woman is activating her sympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for the fight or flight response. She operates in a reactive mode, doing, speaking, handling, proving. This is common among those who feel they must be good enough to be loved or accepted. She's not wrong, but the energy she emits says, "I'm trying." The second woman is different. She's in a parasympathetic nervous system state, the system of rest and receive. This creates a safe, calming energy field that soothes others. Biologically, her presence lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, in those around her, as humans unconsciously sink through the brain's ability to sense safety or threat from others, even without words. When you connect with your body, emotions, and intuition, you radiate authentic femininity like morning mist that effortlessly blankets the earth. Like a melody that hums without knowing it, silences others in awe. You don't impress, yet people remember you. not because you stand out, but because you are real, and authenticity has its unique frequency, deeper than any sound you can control. Authentic femininity, once expressed, spreads like the fragrance of ripe fruit in season. Here's the powerful paradox. When you let go of control, you don't lose value. You return to your true worth. When you stop trying to be loved, you begin living in the state most conducive to being loved, because you're no longer playing a role. Femininity doesn't need validation to exist. It's always been there, like the earth awaiting a seed to sprout. Carl Jung didn't teach us how to attract anyone. He taught us how to become whole by integrating the polarities of yin and yang, reason and emotion, masculine and feminine within ourselves. All you need to do is nurture it daily through subtle yet transformative practices. Number 4, practices to nurture feminine energy. If you're still watching this video, there's likely a part of you yearning to return. So, let's dive into the most important part. Practices to nurture your feminine energy. Before we begin, your presence is a tremendous encouragement for us in our mission to bring the authentic values of Jungian philosophy to more people. So, please like and share this video to spread these lessons to your loved ones and friends. Or leave a comment saying, "I'm ready," to join us in embarking on this meaningful journey with these 5 transformative practices. Practice 1. Let emotions guide you instead of reason controlling them. Most modern women are taught to manage emotions rather than live with them. You're sad, people tell you to think positively. You're angry, they say, it's better to let it go. Over time you become fine, not because your heart is at peace, but because you've sealed it shut to avoid feeling. But Jung once said, "One who has not faced their inner darkness will project it onto the world and call it reality." If you don't dare let your emotions speak, you'll lose connection with your femininity. For femininity doesn't reside in appearances, it lives in emotions. It's not logical or linear, it's a flow. To reconnect with that flow, start with something simple. Listen to your true emotions. When a situation unsettles you, instead of rationalizing it, "I'm probably overreacting, it's no big deal," pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what is this feeling? Where is it in my body? Can I stay with it without fixing it? Sometimes just 5 minutes of sitting quietly with an untouched emotion feels like embracing an inner child. And the remarkable thing is, you no longer have to strive. You become soft, yet not weak. This is how you begin to live with authentic femininity, not by overcoming emotions, but by letting them guide you back. Back to your body, your heart, the sensory data that reason can never grasp. That's where femininity is born. Practice 2. Do nothing. Many women carry a deep unconscious belief. I'm only valuable when I'm doing something. They work hard, support others, excel, and please everyone, and they burn out. But feminine energy doesn't thrive in constant doing. It lives in the moments when you stop doing and still allow yourself to be fully present. A profoundly powerful practice is this. Dedicate 30 minutes each week, choose a time, and tell yourself, "I'm not going to do anything, I'll just sit." You can lie down, close your eyes, listen to music, sit still, or watch clouds drift by the window. The key isn't to empty your mind, like in meditation. It's to observe what arises within you when there's no activity to distract you. For many, the first feeling is restlessness, guilt, or a sense of wasting time, being useless. But if you push past that initial resistance, you'll discover, beneath the restlessness lies a fear of being forgotten or left behind if you stop proving your worth. And right there, healing begins. When you dare to sit with yourself, without conditions or goals, you send a profound message to your nervous system. I don't need to do anything to be worthy of existing. That's the foundation of feminine energy. Femininity doesn't chase light. It's where light rests because it no longer needs to go anywhere. Practice 3. Reconnect with your body through slow, conscious movement. One of the silent tragedies of modern women is this. We analyze, plan, think, react, and forget that femininity doesn't come from the mind, but from the body. The body is the temple, storing every memory, wound, and unprocessed emotion. And it's also where authentic femininity waits to be awakened. Thus, one of the most vital practices to return to your feminine energy is to move your body slowly and consciously. You don't need to learn dance or practice professional yoga. Simply choose a time, perhaps in the morning when you wake up or at night before bed. Play instrumental music, close your eyes, and move according to your body's impulses, not a prescribed form. Let your body speak for you. You might sway your shoulders, twirl, bounce, lie down, or sigh deeply. Let every movement arise naturally and freely. In this moment, you're allowing your unconscious to communicate through your physical form in ways words cannot touch. This is a small ritual to return to your body, a place once forgotten, strained, or overly controlled. The more you move softly without a goal, the more you hear what your body wants, needs, and holds unexpressed. From that connection, feminine energy begins to flow again. It's the first step to a profound reconnection with yourself, not through analysis, but through movement. Practice 4. Write and reflect on an emotional journal as a journey of self-contemplation. Many women can effortlessly recount what they did this week, what others needed, and what they should do next. But if asked, what do you plan for yourself this week? They often fall silent. In the relentless cycle of reason and duty, women have gradually lost the language of their own emotions. And if you can't name your emotions, you can't live authentically. You're only performing a version of yourself that seems fine. A deeply transformative and essential practice is to write down your emotions honestly, every day, or at least a few times a week. Not to solve problems, but to become an honest witness to yourself. Write as if no one will read it, no editing, no rationalizing. Write in the rawest form. Today, I feel empty. I'm a bit jealous of my friend. I'm angry because he didn't listen. I feel so lonely, even with people around. Writing is how you illuminate the shadows without judgment. When you write truthfully, you stop playing a role. You begin to face your inner world without fear. And when you reread your words after some time, you'll see, oh, I was that person. Now I'm different. Not because you tried to change, but because you started being real with yourself. And truth always carries a natural healing power. Make emotional journaling a personal ritual, like a lantern shining into your depths. No one needs to understand you if you haven't yet understood yourself. And when you take that first step into your inner world, authentic femininity begins to bloom from the smallest, most honest things. Practice 5. Connect with the feminine archetype in the unconscious through symbols and dreams. One of the most powerful and mystical ways to return to your authentic feminine energy is to listen to the voice of the unconscious. where ancient archetypes still live and operate beneath the daily veneer of reason. Carl Jung called this the language of the soul, and it doesn't use words as we know them. It speaks through images, symbols, emotions, and dreams. So, how do you reconnect with them? Start by recording your dreams right after waking, no matter how fragmented or illogical they seem. You don't need to understand them immediately, for dreams don't deliver messages logically, but symbolically. Perhaps you dream of being lost in a forest, standing before water, holding a child, or arguing with a faceless woman. Don't dismiss them. These could be the voice of the anima, the sacred feminine within you, calling you to return. Jung believed dreams are a gateway to individuation, the journey to becoming your whole self. On that journey, your femininity must be reborn, not through discipline, but through symbols. Pay attention to recurring images in art, books, or things you're inexplicably drawn to. It might be the moon, a face, water, a stream's sound, a circle, a snake, or open arms. These are messages from a deeper layer of yourself, longing to be seen. You don't need to decode everything like an analyst. Simply listen with the reverence of entering a sacred space. When you dare to live with these symbols, letting them guide you even if unclear, your authentic feminine energy will lead you down a path unique to you, illogical to the masses, but always true to your essence. You don't need to do more. Authentic feminine energy isn't something to reach through effort. It's something to release. Remember that you were once the sky, the deep sea, the untamed land, where life doesn't need programming, only permission to exist. Femininity isn't like a spotlight, bright, focused, and easily controlled. It's moonlight, gentle, unpredictable, mysterious, yet ever present in the cycle of life. It doesn't demand you shine constantly, only that you be real in each moment. You may have been a stream blocked, flowing back into the earth, but all it takes is a small crack, a moment when you pause, breathe deeply, and feel the sadness you've avoided for the water to find its way again. And when that water flows, it doesn't need applause, it simply flows, and every creature around feels life returning. You don't need to become an attractive woman like someone out there. For authentic feminine energy is just that. It doesn't need permission. It's like the scent of a flower blooming where no one sees, yet everyone passing by pauses, not knowing why. Not because you tried to be loved, but because you stopped hiding your true beauty. If this video resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications today. I also want to leave you with a question to sit with, one that could transform your relationships if you dare answer it with your heart. Are you ready to embark on the journey of understanding yourself and awakening the wholeness within?